Hey guys, Baja Booster here alongside SpiritedBook. I'm just going to be talking about, with my captains originally, about like some things with Smite, whether it's be their journey or, things that are happening in WoA, whatever might be going on. And today I chose SpiritedBook first because I've known him for 5 or so years, teamed together for a short
Yeah,
time. That was a long time ago, man. It's a blur to me.
it's been ages. I forgot that even we were just briefly talking beforehand, but I met half the or most of that team that year at Worlds. Like that was so long ago, man. Season 6. I played support back then for the first time, running at speed buffs. You didn't stay on the team that long. Yeah, that was it's it makes me feel old, man. Like it's not cool. But yeah, we've been
Yeah, I
playing
feel
this game
you.
for a long time now.
Yeah, that was just the weirdest thing for me. I started on that team to be the mid and then you support and Silk ADC, and all
Yep,
three
Silk
of us
ADC.
pretty much played mid or ADC at that time, I think. And then our first scrim, Byron wasn't there, so I played jungle and I played really well. But I was like, I don't like this role in comp, so hopefully you're here the rest of the season. And then 3 weeks later, my work says, no, you can't play anymore because now you've got to do
Damn.
this with your schedule. And I was like, okay, great, that's just awesome. But yeah, it's just been crazy thinking about, wow, how long I've actually known you for. And I guess we'll get into, was that your first time playing comp, or had you played before that?
So my first ever time playing comp was season 4. So about 2 seasons beforehand, 2 years beforehand that. Season 3 Worlds really inspired me. That was the first Worlds I fully watched start to finish.
The back-to-back
Uh,
champion season, right? Energy
yeah,
Epsilon.
but yeah, Energy and Epsilon from season 2. But no, it was mostly Luminosity Gaming that really caught my eye. I had been for the longest time, you start Smite, there really is a massive learning curve that you really don't fully understand. And I had fallen in love with a lot of hunters, but I didn't really know how to build them or really play them properly. And I discovered a YouTuber by the name of Barracuda, and I was like, who the heck is this guy? And through Barracuda, I kind of discovered what esports was. In Smite and whatnot. And then I discovered I was in a hotel room watching on vacation for something. I don't even remember where or what we were doing. But discovered season 3 qualifiers to Worlds that year, and LG were playing uh, Flashpoint, and they lost. And then Orbit came in and sent LG to Worlds by beating Flashpoint. And it was really cool. And I was like, oh, this is really that's a great way to get introduced to esports, is through the emotion of seeing another team win a playoff spot, so to speak, for another team, and that team would not be going to Worlds. That was really cool to me to see, and that really invested me in the competition side of things. And then after season 3 Worlds, I was like, this is amazing. How do I get involved? Um, Started out low with a lot of I was in gold back then. I had no idea what I was doing. Um,
I
Kind
still
of
don't.
moved up. Yeah, a lot of people still don't fully understand it. It depends how much. It's a lot of learning you have to do for the game, and it does take a lot of practice and conscientious effort to really fully understand. Um, and yeah, it's just something I was really passionate about, and for years and years I really grinded it out, and that's where I am today. Now I feel like in a really good spot to compete right now, personally, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that example of Flashpoint beating Luminosity and then Orbit beating Flashpoint
Yeah.
for Luminosity to get in. It reminds me this season this past season NFL, where Miami in the last season could either be the 2 seed or the 7 seed. All they had to do was win, and they lose, and now they're on the road going to Kansas City and lose and going in the negative temperature degree as a warm weather team. Like stuff like that, but feeling it in Smite is awesome because I watched everything you could ever imagine for Smite from the beginning all the way up until this past Worlds. I haven't really watched the Content Creator Cup that much or anything about it,
Yeah.
but it just makes me think about all these storylines. I think about the back-to-back seasons where Cherio, Dardes, Nika
Yep.
get reverse swept after having a 2-0 lead in semifinals.
By my boys, but that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. So, and then the storytelling for this year, where actually Dardes and Nika push through and find a way to win for the first time, was really cool. But if you
Yeah.
haven't paid attention to season 5 Mouse Sports or season 4, I can't remember the name of the team. I think it was like maybe
Elevate, I want to
Elevate.
say.
Yeah, thinking about like the Bruise Brothers with when Jermaine was around. Like you're not gonna feel that because you don't know that lore. You're just watching it the first time. So
Yeah.
I remember we talked about the other day because I was trying to figure out how long you were actually had been playing in AGL because I needed to figure out. I wanted to figure out a comparison because
Yeah.
and you actually said, well, I won gold in season 2, and I was like, oh yeah, you did win gold in season 2. And then I thought, well, you haven't played every season. It's just kind of been in and out. And then you had said that like immediately after I was thinking about it. Because my original thing, I was gonna say like you remind me of like Twig, where you always like were
Yeah.
around, you always made it far, but never really did it. But you did it in your first season, and and it just blew up a comparison there. But can you talk about your experiences from your first championship in that gold division?
Yeah, I think that was the first league I ever won. I haven't won many. Leagues are really hard to win. I find the one-off tournaments are a lot easier for sure, just the way they're formatted versus the long-term stuff. Um, yeah, and I had done a few leagues before, like back when Exilium was a thing. We played in that.
Still have the
That
jersey, by
was
the way.
I still have mine, yeah, and the hoodie as well. But they're just great. I mean, they're memories at this point. Like they're not like what they represent doesn't matter anymore. It's all about the memories for me. Like I had a GG. We'll get to GG in a bit, but like I have like a Going Ghost jersey for like the last 2 OSL seasons I've played with them for because like it's all about the memories at the end of the day. But yeah, leagues are really hard to win. It's like 6, 7, 8 weeks of regular season play, and then like 2 to 3 weeks of playoffs at times. So winning that one with a team that I kind of came into, the team was really solidified and they were looking for support, and then coming in and being really a leader on that team, to kind of get everyone in line. And you know how I like to yap a lot in comms and be like, do this, do that. If we do this, we'll win, blah, blah, blah. And just like calming a lot can really, I think, benefit teams at that level. And I think that's ultimately what won us those games was the calm differential, and what won us that league at the time. But as you move up, and we tried playing the next season, and it was just so much harder, because things like communication wouldn't be enough to just win you games. Everything was a lot harder. Um, the players were a lot tougher to beat. It was just so much harder to win, the more and more you went up in terms of like skill levels and like divisions. And that's what's so cool about the divisions is there really is like a learning curve for each division, that you have to figure out. I noticed that a lot with like from Athens moving down to Sparta is like even there, despite moving down a division, like it's still a learning curve of like learning how all the teams like to play versus the Athens divisions and stuff. So yeah, I think it's really, to answer your question, yes, it was very like rewarding to get that win, at the time. Not as rewarding as the most recent one, but definitely very rewarding for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the most recent one, Glacier Division in
Yeah.
AGL, and it's aimed to be high diamond, but every season when signups fluctuate, it's really hard to like have a hard set. This is what this is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like this season, especially 77 signups compared to last season, 87 compared to that. The last 10 seasons before that was 120, 130, 140. So it's a lot harder to streamline divisions and have that familiarity with what it should be. Some stronger players than before in seasons before for sure, to like the top level. So I guess before we talk about that championship, it's a about a 10-11 season gap between 2 and 13.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously it can speak to your growth and such, that amount of time. For people that aren't aware, there's 3 seasons per year, basically. So it's almost like 3.5 years of a difference from winning at gold, and now you're winning at like the next to highest level in the AGL. So what experiences along the way helped you grow to where you could win a championship at the next highest level?
I would say it was a lot of playing with different teams throughout my seasons. A lot you kind of learn new play styles, just little small new things, little nuances to how players maybe react to different things, and learning with different personalities. I teamed with Batman for a while, Scrap X and them, and came in second place a bunch of times with them. We always did really well, I thought, but ultimately we could never get over that last hump and win in a championship game. But I found I was always learning, and I was always learning small things, but also bigger things, as well as just growing confidence. I would say back then I thought about the game very differently than I do now, which is very much a bigger picture type person. I think about the game as in like not just my own lane, but my role as a player in different teams now. And I feel like I am one thing a lot of people have said is like, oh, Spirited Book can kind of play on any team. And I really pride myself on that because I can be a carry player, as I think people will realize this OSL season. But last season, I was very much a role player. I was kind of all about Jolly and like, and then on my AGL team, I was a role player for sure. You know, I had the likes of Super Deathfang and Sifu on my team, Hydra to really play as a frontline team. We were really much a dive centered team. And then my job was to stay alive and just do objectives. And that's totally fine by me. I don't need the big flashy KDAs or numbers. I just want the wins. And I think a lot of players, especially at the amateur level, really like to ego. You know, it's cool to be the bad boys around town and to really, you know, look good on camera and look good on a stream. But I think it's really important to be humble and understand your role in the bigger picture. And so I don't need I'll go 0-10 if we still win the game, I don't care. Like I may perform bad and that's okay because I have a team around me that's going to pick me up and we're going to get the win anyways. Like that's the goal. I don't care about solo kills. I don't care about looking good on a team and getting the 600 plus crits. I just want the win at the end of the day.
Yeah, same thing for me. I'm pretty sure like people understand notoriously that I do not care who gets the kill in the fight, who gets the kill in the
Yeah.
pick. I just want them dead, and I want to continue to push a lead, and I want to win. That's all I care about. I don't care if my snipe didn't kill them. I care that they died. Like so,
Exactly.
I don't care that I threw a Hercules boulder and it did the last hit with 300 damage. I care that they died. Like I want to know that we can go push this lead, we can go get this tower, we can go get this beacon, we can go get this gold free, whatever. That's what I care about, is just pushing forward and just doing something with what you have just done, not just getting the kill and then just kind of sitting around or going back to a lane and farming. Of course, farming is important, obviously, but like if you can get something more than just farm, you know, take it.
Yeah, the stuff after the stuff, as F. Dot always called it, which I always thought that was so like that's a great way to look at it, is getting the stuff after the stuff. Like a kill's important, but what do you get off of a kill? You know, if can you get a buff invade? Can you get a just more ward control? Even just small things.
Yeah, and I think, and this is skipping a little bit, but with my team last season in the Ascension, nobody expected us to win a single game. They did expect us to go toe-to-toe with RJ, toe-to-toe with Bards, and beat them at 45-minute plus games. But we capitalized off of mistakes they made. But our early games were a lot better than they were during the season. We had a lot of roster situation happen during the fifth and sixth week. Solidified stuff, moved people around, figured it out, started playing really well, played better teams than what we play in our division from like AGL levels, and really pushed and had like 6 scrims those 2 weeks compared to 1 scrim each week, maybe at that point. And like RJ was a very strong team, Bards was a very strong team, but sometimes they just didn't do things after the, you know, what you just said,
The stuff, yeah.
the stuff right after. Sometimes the health bars are too low, and it is what it is. You have to just take that small win back, heal, and just go back to the next available farm. But there were times where they were like mostly healthy, like 3/4 H bars on like your tanks. Carries might have been a little low, but there was no threat to be, for them to be killed, stuff like that. And then just those small things led us to be able to, stay in the game even better than we were already. So I stuff out of after stuff for me is like a major part, and it's just like I said at the beginning. I don't care who gets the kill. I just want to get the kill for somebody on the team and just take them off the
Yeah.
screen for 40 seconds, whatever it is, and move to that next thing, and try to win this game. So you mentioned the roster you played with, SDF, Sifu, Hydra,
Hydra and
uh,
Finlow slash
Finlow,
Cronoin.
Cronoin. Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
I think the finals was Cronoin, right?
Yeah. Finlow didn't show up. Finlow hopped in a Discord call not even 10 minutes before the first match and was like, yeah, I'm at work. And we're like, oh boy. So we had Cronoin listed, and yeah, Cronoin subbed in for our finals, which
Yeah.
glad I had Cronoin of all players because I trust that guy. He's really good. And so yeah, glad to have him with us out of everyone because we had played with him previously on another match day, so we kind of knew how he wanted to play. So yeah, just glad to have worked with him for finals out of any other player we could have had.
Yeah, that was really cool. Like, Fenlo unfortunately does have a history of that. So like,
Yeah,
to have somebody on deck
he's
that's pretty good.
he's never lost finals though. Got to give him credit where credit is due. He's never lost the
You
finals.
can't lose the finals you don't play in. You're right. No, I like Finlow. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
But I just gotta tease him when I can, just like anybody else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're never letting him live that down.
No, never, never. So I guess we'll start getting to the woe part of things. Well, it kind of has to start with you on GG though.
Yeah.
So I believe the last two seasons you guys were what, 6-1, both seasons if I remember right, going into the playoffs.
Yeah, something like that. Yes, I believe 6-1. Yes, and then I believe we're a similar record on Flaming Tanukis when I played in Athens as well.
I think so.
Winning every game and then losing just before like the Ascension round, the last week of regular season. Yeah, similar records every season usually.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because people like to, and excuse, cussing, but they like to shit on you a lot. Like,
Yeah,
it's just a public thing to do. They like to
it's just a
instigate
common
you,
knowledge thing, I guess.
and
Yeah,
and obviously historically you've done some of it too. I understand, but like people do it way more to you than you do to other people, and it's just I never understood like why it's like that. It's just people just pick one person and it's like, nah, heck that guy. But I just obviously, like I said, I've known you for a long time. I've like I regardless of people may or may not know, like for a long time in AGL, if there was a replay available, I watched, I studied, I tried to understand things. Nowadays, there's not as many replays as it used to be. It's more of just
yeah,
what is this match? What can I learn from this screenshot of the detail screen? What can I learn from the build screen? Stuff like that. So it's not as like as great because there's things that your KDA may not reflect into the game.
yeah,
And vice
sure.
versa. So like you could have been 10-1, but if you have fourth most damage on your team, you obviously just got last hit some fights, or you did maybe half of the damage in some fights or whatever. Or maybe you're in support and you're 0-6, but you've got 22 assists and you've set up like every single kill that's happened in the game.
Yeah.
Like there's just things that you cannot learn from from those kind of screenshots without seeing replays. But basically, when I was looking for captains last season, in OSL, I was running back Hydra because I love the dude. He's awesome.
Yep.
Just got to quarterfinals, and let's try it again next season. Let's see how it goes. I wanted to have you last season, and I got told
Yeah.
no. I originally was told yes, then I was told like day before no, which
Yeah.
sent me into messaging 22 different people before somebody said yeah, I'll captain, which was the worst experience. So I knew Sparta season was going to be rough because there was a small amount of time to prepare with a captain, which
Yeah.
was Tangents, and he had a great draft plan in my opinion for that draft. It just didn't pan out because the back line just wasn't consistent, but the front line was like the best front line you
Yeah.
could have drafted.
Yeah, I mean, Cosmic was on that team, and Cosmic is in Athens now. So like the team was there. I just think, yeah, there were just some small things that towards the end of the season, I think started to look a little better. And had you had the roster at the start of the season, maybe it could have done well, but it was just too little, too late, I think.
Yeah, it was, unfortunately. But they tried. They were scrimming. They were doing well in
Yeah.
scrims for the most part. Some games were not great, but most of them were solid where they were in it. And then Delphi bops for the second time in a row, 5-2 record, goes to quarterfinals. Unfortunately, this past season, half the team couldn't play quarterfinals, so it got forfeited. So he didn't get a
Yeesh.
chance to go to semifinals for 2 seasons in a row. So of course I'm bringing Bops back again. I like Bops a lot. He's captain teams in AGL like 4 or 5 seasons, and that's how I knew them to begin with. Um, Into season 2 when I was in Delphi. I played the last 2 weeks of the season with him, I believe it was. Um, and then, of course, I've been in Crete this season. The previous 2 seasons before that was Isaac.
Mm.
So, gets to this point though. This season, not a Valve game is in Athens for the being a captain. They would not let me have Hydra again because of the whole esoteric thing, basically. Um, so that was unfortunate, but I just found, I just literally Valve was the first person I asked, and that's the only person I had to ask.
All right.
So that was
Nice.
cool. I wanted I wanted somebody like, when you look for a captain, you want somebody that's a top level player if possible, but you want them to be able to have command of a team, or
Yeah.
somebody that knows a lot of the players or knows what they want to do with players.
Yeah.
I knew Val would be that. I knew you would be that. I know Bops is that. I know I'm that. So
Yeah.
it's just, for me, I can't ask for a better lineup because it's the people I asked first, right?
Yeah. That's
And
always got to feel good.
it's not often that happens. You
Yeah.
can get an offer from a quote unquote better org. You know what I mean? I mean, GG's known to be absolutely excellent over a sick amount of time. KWM, Skogs, a lot of orgs have been around a long time but done very well. And they do things a lot differently than I do. I think I mean, you've known me for a long time, so you already know this. But
Yeah.
going into it, I don't want to be hand over fist. You have to take this player. That's not who I am, right?
Right. And it's like, why I don't understand why you would ever force someone to do that personally. Like, I feel like they're not the ones playing, and like ultimately like it should be us as captains decisions on who we want to play with, who we want to draft. Like, everyone keeps telling me I got a sick draft, and I agree, but I think most importantly we vibe. Like Rekka
Yeah,
I've played with, Helenu I've played with, Nex I haven't played with much, but I've heard he vibes. And then Zexy is the best jungler, and Zexy was my question mark, and like I don't really know Zexy. Like, is he a strong personality? Is he gonna ego? It's been nothing but positive, and like just a chill guy to hang out with and like discuss the drafts and stuff. And he just seems like he's gonna fit in perfectly. And he is, like, I think the oddball. All four of us have played to get with each other in some capacity or another. He was the odd man out, and I think he's gonna fit right in. And I'm not worried
I
about like
I
things
tell you
like
what
that
was
at
funny
all.
though. I had no idea he was on your radar because I had heard like a couple of different people like Death Guy's annoying, stuff like that, and then
Oh
the pick happens,
God.
and I'm like, Zexy. I literally played with him like 3 days before, and
Okay.
I was playing with him. I was playing with Cafe Cat, and I was playing with whoever was in the call. So he was just going off, and then the last game of the night, he's just trolling and picking Kuchu support, and I was like, all right, whatever. But it was also just a game where I was in jungle, and I was like, I wonder how Bats is this patch, and it turns out he's pretty bad.
Yeah, he's pretty bad.
Yeah, so it was not great. I had a lot of like instances where it was like one hit away from killing somebody, but it just wasn't enough. But besides the point, I played with them last night too, and I think it was like 25-3 on Thanatos or something like that in the
Yeah,
jungle.
he's really good.
And I was just like, I was like, I want to pick Geb solo and go book a Thoth and have fun, and I'm into a fucking Mulan, of course. And I get wrecked the first like 7 minutes of the game, but like when I got to that 20-minute mark, man, it was over. and he
Yeah.
was just constantly like diving towers, like tower shots about to kill him. No, it's a Geb shield that's massive, and like it was just so funny because like my interactions with him are limited. I've only had those few games with him, but like chilling with him in the chats, has never had like any type of ego. Never really
No,
like.
which I was surprised about.
I was too.
I thought for a player who would just be better than a lot of these other players would have an ego, and he's done his little bits of like things he says, and I think sometimes I've had to tell him to rein it in a little and be like, hey, come back. We should really focus on objectives. Um, but I agree. There's no ego. It's all just I want to kill people, and that's gonna set us up for success and a win. And I'm like, this is what we need out of a jungler who currently is probably one of the best roles in Smite right now. In the game state, the way it is, that's exactly what we need. So I'm like, really excited for this season in particular with him.
Yeah, I personally think, and you can see this in my draft. Well, if you knew my plans for my draft, you would know. A lot of people really didn't see because I hit it pretty well. But I thought in this draft, this meta, you get a jungle, you get a solo, you worry about the rest later because
Yeah.
those two roles to me are the most impactful since the revert happened. So 11-6. I've seen jungles single-handedly carry games. I've seen solos single-handedly carry games. I haven't seen it as much from mid or as much from ADC. So to me, that means I think those are the roles that are most important. If you look at Athens draft, of course, I've got a solo lane captain, picks Kona second overall. We end up moving him to ADC because we also got Swagga, like and somehow on the backside. So we've got two of the top 5-6 junglers in the division on the same team. Of course, one's off-rolling, but he's just as good as ADC as he is as jungle. So that was really cool. So front line and side lanes locked down. We go to your draft. Obviously, you're in the side lane, ADC. Obviously, to me, looking at the rosters, best ADC in the whole draft. And then you've got the best jungler, and then you get a top 4 every season mid laner, top 5 every season solo, and it's people you've known in multiple communities, and you vibe with them. And then you pull up Mex, who is, like you said, he's a viber. He's an awesome, chill dude, and you pulled him up from Delphi. So, what were the thoughts? Were there any of the supports in Sparta that you were looking at, or do you think that he was just placed way too low?
So there was a condition that we wouldn't get mechs, and the only condition I would have had was if Jinx Q was available. And he got drafted, I think, literally 2 picks before our second round of picks. And so our sequence was going to be first pick Zexy, and we have to go through the whole order. Then we get a snake draft, so we get 2. And then we were going to either do mid solo or mid support. And the mid support heavily conditioned on whether we could get Jinx Q to play support for us. Because I played with Jinx in a few scouting games, and I'm like, this guy's going to be another great viber for the team. And so Jinx obviously goes. So we're like, okay, now we can pick mid solo, and we can hold our last, official pick to pick up our call up because no one's going to look at mechs. So we did that. And then, Mex was an obvious choice, I think, because we chatted with a few people in the A&M server, and they all said Mex is really good. And I was kind of chatting with Mex in the A&M server, and I'm like, there's a world you get drafted for our team. And he's like, yeah, I'm down to play with you guys, but he's like kind of taking it like he didn't think I was actually like being super serious about it. He kind of thought I was messing with him a little bit, and then he's just a moose. And then he gets drafted, and he's like, I didn't think you were being serious. And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm being serious. Like, you kind of proved yourself, and sure enough, in our first round of scrims, he absolutely proved himself, which was hilarious. Some people were like, oh, Moose, we're going to absolutely diff him or whatever. He's not going to do anything just because he's a Delphi call-up. And I was like, they're not ready for this. And then we absolutely...
They just don't know Moose. Like, the problem is...
They don't know.
You have played with at least 2, if not 3, collegiate supports. Ferendum, who's been one of the top supports ever to touch collegiate. You've played with Hydra, again, another top-level support. that's played
Yeah.
in collegiate, and then
Still do.
exactly, and then
Yeah.
Moose has played. If you're in the A&M program and it's being run by Freedom, you know you're getting quality, crazy good coaching, and a lot of growth. And that's the thing with with me, like with the org, obviously with running a jail, but also running collegiate. When it comes to draft league, and there's players from collegiate that are in here that people don't know. Last season, I was gonna try to draft Pancake Trousers 5th round because nobody would know him, and he got sniped 1 pick before me in the 5th round
Mm.
because I think it was Dean. Dean just started studying the profile extra hard and realized, oh, this guy should be a starter somewhere. I could have picked him 4th round, but it would have guaranteed me playing solo, which I absolutely hated in that meta.
That's fair.
I could have just picked him, played, and then played solo. I didn't, and that was obviously that was a mistake because we ended up losing that solo at some point with you know everything that went down with him. Um, but it also was a good thing that it did happen because now it gave me 4 weeks of seeing free bowling and solo lane.
Mm.
Because that's his actual main role, but he wanted to try, support. I had picked him for support, another collegiate player that nobody's gonna know, really. And then now I'll get him again for a second season. Now he's gonna be in solo, and I think that's like a sneaky good advantage for us. Is like, again, like you got Zexy, and then you get, and then Rekka's been I think in OSL for 3 seasons now, so people know who
Yeah.
he is. But coming from A&M White, he's only on A&M White because of Super Death Fang. So
Yeah.
like when you're that good and you just don't get a chance because the person ahead of you is like one of the most cracked solo laners in the last 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
in the SOC community, then that's just it's just what you can't do anything about that.
Yeah. The reason, so I will say, the reason I chose Rekka when we played in that first weekend of like the Smite Alpha tournament, the Smite 2 Alpha tournament, it was me, Friendem, Sifu, and then I think Blue was the name of the
Huh?
jungler, and Rekka was on that
No.
team, and we made it pretty far. And he was like diffing soul laners in who were like kind of notable names, like not like top SCC or anything, but he like
Yeah.
was doing really well. And I was like, this is someone I would like absolutely play with. So pretty early on, I was like, if Rekka's available, we will take Rekka.
Yeah, and you get to sneak him at 33 on the wraparound, and also Hilanu, who's not in. Everybody knows Hilanu, like
Yeah.
he doesn't play collegiate, but he's casted collegiate and whatnot, so he knows of these players. So, like,
Yeah.
you get Rekka, you get him, you get Moose. He's gonna know who those people are. He's gonna like have an idea about how they play. You obviously have an idea how they're gonna play. You get Zexy as the first overall pick in jungle. It just looks like a very, very good draft, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredibly excited to play this season with them, I think. We have scrims tonight, so and against a pretty good team, I'd say. Someone who should, I think, be doing pretty well. So I think this is a good testing of where we should stand, I think, tonight. Yeah, really excited to work with this team, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I'm super excited for this season of OSL. I originally was not gonna play this season. I was gonna just go off into sunset and just focus on content side of things. But I didn't realize they were gonna do a summer season because I was not
Mhm.
gonna play during NFL season again. That was miserable for me. I was gonna just play season 4, let it be the end, but they moved it to summer, and I was like, well, I don't have collegiate to worry about. AGL's pretty well like runs itself for the most part during the season, except for this controversy, that controversy that may pop up here or there. So it's not really that big of stuff, and even then, Glacier usually handles a lot of it. Like when it comes to that confrontational stuff, not that I won't, but he just does it because it's him.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have a lot of time, so I'm gonna play. I'm also playing in QSL, and I get to play mid there. I'm supposed to. I've been stuck in solo the last 2 weeks.
You better be spamming Tiamat in there then. That god's OP.
That's one of the gods I have not figured out how I can play.
She's so good.
I'm so bad at just what happens is like in the moment, like say I'm clearing and I get ganked, I forget what buttons do what when I'm in what stance. Like,
Okay.
so like it's just like a mental thing for me. Like it's like if like when King Arthur came out and you're not used to like everything being instacast if you've never played instacast. It's kind of like that in my brain, but for Tiamat. I haven't been able
Okay.
to figure it out in the last 3 years. I don't know why. I also haven't spent a lot of time on her too. Like I understand the character, I know what she does, but like it's
Yeah.
just like in the
She
moment when certain things happen, it's like brain turn off.
she's very rewarding when you can figure her out. Yeah. I wish I could play Tiamat like every game. Like she's so fun. She's so fun to play and she's so rewarding. Like she doesn't do a lot of like damage wise, low key. Like she's not a burst mage like Scylla or anything. Like she doesn't do the big numbies right away. Uh but she's a lot of fun. Like I love that
Yeah,
character.
I think another reason for me is like you said, she's not one of those type of mages, but it's like she doesn't fit my typical style of mage. Like I love
Okay.
Thoth, I love
The artillery
Kapulkin.
style.
I like range poke or aggressive in your face stuff. And she's
Yeah.
aggressive in your face, but like I feel like I do negative numbers for the first 9 levels, and it just feels weird.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's yeah.
and
She's
for
got a
me, it's like,
long
why do I
power
just
spike
not pick like
curve.
Wukong or Chalk at that point if I want to do that?
Yeah. That's fair.
Like, so for, but that, not that I'm going to, but in my mind, that's what comes by. But anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing how this team, like all of our teams, obviously. I think we went crazy in the draft this season in every
Yeah.
division. I can't say that for previous seasons. Like, I mean, some teams, yes, but not like across the board. Oh, I feel really good about. I did have like some questions last season for a couple, like 2 of the rosters. I had questions the preseason prior to that because I didn't really know. I still didn't really know a lot of players in each division, like because I didn't realize how many people don't play in pre-made team leagues. It's only draft leagues that they play in, and I had to learn those players.
Yeah.
So, like going into the 5th season and having learned a lot of things over the last 4, and seeing who we got where, I feel exceptional about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, obviously, all the players in Crete and Delphi, but from my understanding and what I've heard, we've all come away with really good drafts. And I'm surprised because like I feel like in at least in Sparta especially, like I feel like we got a really good Sparta draft. As crazy as that sounds, like there were a lot of Athens drop downs, and we grabbed one, but we grabbed it in a sub round that we were kind of like, we'll pick up Afro Prodigy just because she's available and she's got great vibes as well, apparently. And just after having talked with her the other day, she'll be subbing for us on Sunday for Golden Apple because Moose won't be available, so that's gonna be fun. But yeah, like I'm not. It's weird. It's a Sparta draft. It's no Athens drop downs. It's not looking at players like Mini or Mario Bro who waterfalled again. Not looking at players like Proflux or Twinkle Toes 12. Like doesn't matter. Like I'm gonna pick players who I know are consistent and aren't streaky and are like just gonna vibe with us, and do well in the Sparta environment ultimately because like it is different. It's hard to describe, but it is different than Athens. It is different than Delphi. Like there is a learning curve for every division, the way that players play things and play picks and play styles of play. Like in Crete and Delphi, individual skill matters a lot more than in Sparta, where team play I think is a lot more cohesive. Then you get a bit of individual play coming back into factor in Athens, but team play is ultimately more cohesive as well as adaptation. I think every division has its own skill level and like learning curves you have to figure out, and I think I've drafted the perfect Sparta team as all things considered.
Yeah, and I know what you mean by that because obviously Athens, you're gonna pick Athens unless you
Yeah,
find somebody that is just way better at that 4th round. So our Athens draft was pure Athens. For starters, you were pure Sparta, but you brought up a Delphi that should be in Sparta in my opinion, so I'm going to call it pure Sparta.
yeah, that's fair.
Delphi was the only draft where we had a fall down.
Yes, Sam Howell.
Sam Howell went to the 4th round as our jungler for Delphi. Everybody else that starters is in Delphi. And then my draft was straight Crete players. I only had Arconic Prince as an idea of a person I would take that fell. Because I've been wanting to play with Arconic for a long time, but we both main mid, so it's Really hard to do that.
Problematic.
Yeah, and if Noxus would have been gone, I would have taken him and just figured it out. But again, like there's only one player that didn't really fit the division that we drafted. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. But that's gonna wrap it up for me. I appreciate you and your time.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I know you're not gonna have Moose, and we're gonna get to see what Afro can do
Yeah.
this weekend. But also we play at the same time, so I can't watch the games, unfortunately. But it's
We'll
been really
be
fun.
we'll be streaming, and you can hear the details of what happened on the show Hydra and I are doing, which is
Ooh.
great. Yeah. Well, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Where's Valbion? Yeah. Where's Valbion
I
Green Room?
I watched it all yesterday and left a troll comment that I got to troll
I
Spark
saw
about.
that. I saw that.
It was I wanted to comment a couple times, but I was just like, I'll just do the one and just mess with people. So it was fun. I think my favorite part about like that is not knowing what to expect to going in to to the show, and then listening to how well structured it was and how well you transitioned. Obviously in
Yeah.
Sparta you're going to talk about every team because that's your division, right? But
Yeah.
you
And
spent
that and
but you spent time to talk about at least a little bit of everywhere else too.
yeah, I mean, one thing Hydra and I have done this kind of before. Tanuki talks back in when we were in Athens and teaming together. We just vibe. Hydra is such a good friend, both in and out of the game. I love chatting with that guy. Love teaming with him, and yeah, we're just great. I think we're both great at making content together. And so like literally we started that, like we brainstormed it the day of, and we were like what do we want to, or I think it was the day before we brainstormed it, and then the day of we were like, do you want to just record? And he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I just threw everything together graphic wise in the last like 20-30 minutes, and then we're like, okay, this is briefly what we're going to talk about here, blah 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 blah. And then we just went for it, and you could tell it's a tad like on the moment type deal, but I think it cooked. It was a really good first episode, and I'm really excited for the next one. I think we're gonna try to do them Sundays, if not Sundays, probably Monday nights. Just because I think having it post the weekend of like Sparta, or like of the match days on Sunday, I think is really good. Having everything fresh in your mind is really good. So ideally Sundays, if not Mondays. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like when Barrow was still playing in the league and they had with the backliners.
The backliners,
like
yeah.
they record it like a day or two later, like or do it live a day or two later, and everything's fresh, but you're not so jammed up that you can't like freely think about everything. So it's awesome. But like you guys obviously have had a lot of synergy. You've known each other for a long time, and when you can just kind of like throw, hey, we've got this idea, this idea, this idea. Let's just work it out and just press the start button. When you can do that, I think it actually makes for better content because you don't have to think about, well, what did we plan to say here? No, we just did what we thought in the moment. So that's awesome. I'm looking forward to all those episodes that come out. I'm gonna tweet them out every time as long as I see the link. And
Hell yeah.
And I'm gonna try to be there in the chats for some of those, and maybe see about getting on one.
Yeah. We're looking, hopefully we can have you on as a guest at one point. I know we have to have Anthony on at some point. He's already asked if you're available, and I'm available, let's do it. A bunch of people have already asked, are you going to have guests on? And we're like, yeah, maybe this is our first episode, guys, come on. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on for this today. I love being interviewed. It's always a blast, especially for stuff like Smite.
Yeah, absolutely. And I plan to do as much as I can when I can. I want to get through my captains first, so I got to do Bob, so I've got to do Valve. I'm probably gonna get to Hydra at some point as well, just because I can reach to him on his experiences and what he's doing this season.
And he's our coach. He's our coach.
Exactly, he's your coach. He was one pick away from being able to be drafted by you too.
I learned he could not make the Sparta times though. I don't think you
Yeah,
can
I'm not
on
saying you
Sundays.
would have.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, damn, it could have
Yeah.
been. You know,
It could have.
just
Oh,
kinda,
it would
just
have been
kinda
so
tease the
free.
chat, you know.
It was so free. If Hydra was in Sparta, it would not be close, man. The season would be over, man, and Warriors of Albion would already be champions.
Yeah, there's not even there wouldn't have been a reason to play the season. Just hit that. Just go to the
Exactly.
Madden franchise, hit skip to the end, and you just play your Super Bowl at the end and just dominate.
Indeed.
So we're just gonna see how this goes. Appreciate you, man, as always, and see y'all another time.